I'm going to give this another go. Can't believe this happened to me twice now. Thanks, Scott. I can't believe it's happened to me twice in a row. It's to do with, well, I'd assume, because in most cases, when you unplug things that were previously plugged in, that the settings revert back. But obviously they don't. And so it was all set up for Sunday yesterday. And that's why you couldn't hear me, because I use a microphone on Sunday. But hey, anyway, I'll try and not do that next Monday. So I was just saying before I realised that you couldn't hear me, that it's a miserable Monday morning. But that doesn't matter, does it? Because God is good, and therefore life is good. Even in the most miserable of days, we still have God by our side, don't we? So we're cheerful and we're optimistic and we're full of faith. Good morning, everyone, by the way, because you won't have heard me say good morning the 20 times I said it in the previous video. Mentioned some changes that are going to be brought in next week. And so this week is exactly the same. But yesterday I mentioned some changes. So we've got tomorrow night, as usual, we've got the prayer meeting. Thursday night, we've got the Bible school this week. And actually the topic, I forgot to mention this yesterday, but the topic is, well, that's not the title of it, but it's what I've asked Dave to speak on, like the coronavirus and how that fits in with end times. Because a lot of people are asking questions like, is this a sign of the end times? And so anyway, Dave's going to talk around all that and just explain what the Bible says about stuff like that. So that might hopefully set some people's minds at rest and help people understand things. So that's on Thursday night at 7:30, as usual. But the devotions all week this morning, all week in the mornings, but no mystery devotion on Saturday. So we're changing that this week. And then from next week, devotions will continue as normal, but prayer meeting and Bible school will go alternate weeks on a Tuesday night. We're just recognising people are going back to work. Their schedules are changing. They haven't got as much time in the middle of the week. So we just kind of roll the punches a little bit there. But we are going to introduce a Thursday night thing where we premiere on Facebook and YouTube a church member's testimony of how they came to know Jesus and how he changed their life. And we're excited about how that's going to impact people. We're basically getting the gospel out there and believing that God's going to reach people through it. So we're excited about that. Anyway, that's all the blurb, all the advertisements, all the information sharing. We're going to get on with the devotion now. And you'll know if you watched on Saturday, we started Colossians. And so I'm going to pick up from that. From verse 15 is where I'm reading from. And if you're reading, if you've got the same Bible as me, most Bibles have little headings. On my Bible, it says the supremacy of Christ. The supremacy of Christ. So let's get into this. It says, he is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn over all creation. For by him all things were created, things in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or powers or rulers or authorities. All things were created by him and for him. Talking about Jesus here. It says, he is before all things, and in him all things hold together. And he is the head of the body, the church. He is the beginning and the firstborn from among the dead, so that in everything he might have the supremacy. For God was pleased to have all his fullness dwell in him, and through him to reconcile to himself all things, whether things on earth or things in heaven, by making peace through his blood shed on the cross. There's a lot in that little bit there. I've still got some more to read, but I just wanted to spend some time on that because basically what Paul's doing here is he's taking some time to explain how that Jesus is above everything, above all things. Not only has he been placed above all things, but he was there in the beginning. It says in John's Gospel that in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Right? Jesus is that Word. Jesus has been part of God in the Trinity for eternity. He's always been there, and God saw it fit to put Himself on earth in the form of Jesus, the Son. And it says there that Jesus was the physical, the visible representation of an invisible God. He is every bit God, but God on earth, Emmanuel, God with us, right? Now it's important to understand that because what Paul is really challenging here is some dodgy thinking. Later on, you'll know if you follow the devotion this week that in chapter 2 he starts talking about worship of angels and stuff like that. And certain people at that time they were looking at other things as well, things like angels to worship and other beings. And so Paul was really coming against that mentality and saying Jesus is supreme. He's supreme over Moses, who the Jewish people would have held as I know it's not right for Jewish people, but who they would have held as like kind of the ultimate prophet. You could list all the prophets in the Bible. Jesus was not just a prophet, and we know that's even now we face that mentality in the world. With other religions, how they people look at Jesus as a prophet and basically a man, but no, Jesus is above all that. He was before everything. He's in everything. Everything's made for him. He's every bit God. And so he is supreme. He's over everything. It's important to understand that. Because actually how we apply it to our lives is, well, I want to ask you a question so you can apply it to your life. Where does Jesus sit in your life? When Leah and I took on the church, one of the things that I said to the congregation, to you guys who are listening here, well, many of you guys who are listening here, was that the way that I saw things was it goes God, my family, and then the church. And some people argue that's not the right order. Some people argue God, church, family. And that's how I see it anyway. I see that if you want me to be a good church leader, I have to have my family and my home life sorted out, right? In fact, there's biblical principles in that as well. If you want to read about the the criteria for eldership and stuff like that. That's just how I see things. But the important thing when I was saying that was that God is at the top there. God has to be at the top of not just my life, but everyone's life. He has to be supreme in our life. So I want to ask you, what things in your life come before God? Now, these things can creep in and they can seem innocent. Even things like to do with fear. Fearing things about, am I going to be able to provide? Have I got enough finances? What do you believe about who's supreme? Is your bank balance supreme, or is God supreme? Is Jesus supreme? What about your health? Maybe you're struggling with something to do with your health. Who's supreme? Is it your health, or is it Jesus? We can put our trust entirely into him, and we can say, Jesus, we trust you because you're in control. And whatever happens, we know that you are governing and you are orchestrating and you are working all things round for good. Jesus is supreme. When we understand that and we have that as the basis of our life, we can walk with real confidence and a surety that we know that Jesus won't lead us down paths that are completely risk-free and completely safe, but we can rest assured that he is in charge, he's in control. We can put our trust in him. He is supreme. Let's keep reading anyway. So we're now up to verse 21. It says, once you were alienated from God and were enemies in your minds because of your evil behavior, but now he has reconciled you to Christ's physical body through death to present you wholly in his sight without blemish and free from accusation. If you continue in your faith, established and firm, not moved from the hope held out in the gospel, that this is the gospel that you heard, and that has been proclaimed to every creature under heaven, and of which I, Paul, have become a servant. So obviously they're talking about how, you know, our relationship has changed now with God. We once were separate, we've been brought together, and we've talked a lot about this to do with grace. I'm going to take a slightly different track this morning, because there was something that came to mind when I was out walking this just this morning with Bernie. I was on a path walking down the side of a field, and this path, there is ample space either side of it to walk on grass that is taken care of. So you're not walking in kind of deep grass, but other parts of the field there's thick long grass, and if you walk in that, you're going to get your trousers wet or whatever. I was wearing shorts because I thought, well, what's the point? Why get your trousers wet? I might as well get my legs wet and dry them off. So I was wearing shorts, but so walking down this path, and even with social distancing measures in place, there was easily enough space. You'd have to walk off the path a little bit, a couple of feet to one side, but you could easily keep 1 meter. You could actually easily keep 2 meters distance from each other. And when I'm walking down this path, I'm looking ahead, there was this guy there. He was older than me, but I wouldn't have said that he was, you know, in a category that would say that he was vulnerable. And he was walking his dog. And he's walking along, and he was quite a way away, and he saw me, and he stopped dead in the path, like he was deciding, what do I do? And I got a bit closer, and I thought, well, when I get close enough to him, I'm just going to walk right around him. I'm going to give him plenty of space. Obviously, he's trying to be really, really careful, and good on him for that, you know, and maybe he doesn't want the dogs to come near each other either. Maybe there's an issue with his dog, I don't know. So I thought, well, when I get close, I'll grab Bernie and I'll just walk right around him. Won't be an issue. But that guy didn't think that way at all. I mean, I got barely anywhere near him, and he literally took a 90-degree turn, walked up this embankment into this long grass, then walked along. As I walked past, I didn't even have to go off the path, and then down again the other side, and then back onto the path, like quite a way back. I actually looked back to see what he'd done, to see if he'd, you know, thought, well, I'll go up that way in the field instead. But no, he was literally avoiding me like the plague. I mean, it was beyond any kind of safety measures that the government might put in place, and even further beyond than any of that. And I just got, I don't know, a little bit of a feeling arose in me of, wow, that guy really didn't want to be near me. And I kind of for a second took it a bit personal, and I know I shouldn't have done, and it's just a bit daft. But it got me thinking. Actually, I was in the shops the other day, in my local shop, and I was walking out towards the door, and I was looking at something in my hand. I think it was, I don't know, the bag or something I was carrying. And I didn't look where I was going, and I come to the doorway, and as I came to the doorway, another guy was walking in. And so I kind of like this, and I leaned away from him, and I even put my face, and even like pulled a bit of face with, and I was trying to show that I was trying to be considerate, that I was trying to give him distance, because, you know, we shouldn't be in too close a contact with each other. But afterwards I thought, man, what did that look like? That must look like I was literally like, get away from me. It must have looked really bad. And then I fast forward to this morning, and I had that experience with that guy. I don't know, I was just seeing that it says there that, you know, once you were alienated from God and you were enemies in your minds because of your evil behaviour. And that's, I suppose, how distant, if you like, we were from God. But I want to encourage you today, you know, let's be really safe with the social distancing measures. Let's make sure we do that. But how can we do that whilst showing people that they're not our enemy? Showing people that actually we don't have an issue, or we don't have any kind of distaste, or there's nothing kind of in our hearts that's kind of like, get away from me. But actually we're still wanting or craving that contact with people. I remember when we first started all this, I did a little video on my phone as I was out walking the dog, and I was just saying how nice it was that I was walking down the street, and there was a bunch of people, in particular an old lady, who just her face lit up. And it was a couple of weeks into lockdown. I remember saying to everybody on the Facebook feed, like, it was really nice to think that because she didn't have much contact, that there was this really genuine, warm, happy smile. And I got thinking, maybe we've lost a bit of that. Maybe we've lost that, that sense of, I really want to connect with people, even though I can't come near you. I'm still really for you. I'm still excited to even see you, even be near you. And maybe we could be more intentional today about making people feel special. Be more intentional today about making people feel like that distance isn't actually distance, that we're still on the same page, we're still on the same team, we're still loving and caring for each other. I'm not suggesting even that you have to go out of your way to do something nice. I'm just suggesting that, we think carefully about our actions so that we show people that we want to be with them, that we love them, that, that there's a part of us, even just as human beings, that connects with each other. Well, anyway, that's me done for today. A bit longer. That's because we had to restart it all again. Next Monday, I'll make sure I double check my audio settings. All right, so have a great day. And if I don't see you tomorrow, we'll see you at the prayer meeting, hopefully tomorrow night at 7:30. Look out for the meeting ID and password. That'll be released soon, and we'll see you then. All right, guys, see you later.